welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. Welcome in. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. You can follow me on X at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on X at CHGO_White Sox. The full CHGO White Sox crew, White Sox. You gotta emphasize every X.
You really emphasized the O, really, is what you did.
I didn't know how to do that. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Ecknerall23. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We are going to have a little MLB Trade Deadline preview as we're 8 days away from August 1st. But I really do feel like we're waiting with bated breath because a deal could be made at any time, at any point, for any Chicago White Sox. We'll talk about the main two, Lucas Giolito and Tim Anderson, who might be leaving town, and then we'll make some predictions. I'll ask Vinny and Herb who else they think might be leaving. But first, Herb,
yes, hello.
You're a well-traveled man.
I am.
You've gone now to 20 of the 30 MLB ballparks. I have to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You just went to Toronto, just got back. You saw our guy KPW, and I think he's in the chat, so shout out to KPW. Are you counting, like, Montreal? Because you were alive when Montreal existed. Like, how are you, like, you've done 20 of 30? Like, are you just counting active ballparks? Or, like, could you technically do 31 ballparks?
I did not go to Montreal, but all the 20 I'm talking about are currently in use by those teams.
Have you been to any extinct ones?
Like, did you go to the original Yankee?
I have not been to any extinct ones, not even whatever Comiskey Park was called before, Comiskey Park.
Yeah, it was Comiskey Park.
I never went to that one.
Okay. So you were only at Comiskey too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You ever go to any extinct one?
Have I been to an extinct baseball stadium? I don't believe so.
Okay. Like Yankee or Shea? I mean, like, those are the two that jumped in my mind. I don't know why you'd ever go to RFK Stadium.
Well, I mean, there was the old, depending on how old you are, you had the old County Stadium in Milwaukee. You
Tigers.
Had the Tiger Stadium in Detroit. You had the old Busch Stadium. So there were plenty in the Midwest. Metrodome, the Metrodome was one up till fairly recently. So
you didn't do Metrodome?
I did not. No. Technically, you could still go to Tiger Stadium. It's just open field. Well, this was like, 10 years ago, so maybe they've done some development in Detroit. But we went to the Tiger Stadium where it used to be and just played a couple games. The mound was still there. It wasn't like manicured or anything like that, but it was me, Tanny, Shep, and I believe Brendan McCaffrey. So technically, I've been to Tiger Stadium. It probably was just the same as the other one.
The corner ballpark is on the former site of Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
Is the home of the Detroit Police Athletic League.
Okay.
And numerous youth, college, amateur, and semi-pro sports teams.
They've renovated it, so that's good. It was just an open, empty lot.
How about that?
Yeah.
Mercy. All right,
that's
so
good.
you got in the rankings, 1 through 20 right now.
I do.
What's next? Can I ask you that? What's going to be 21?
Next year, we're doing 21 and 22. It's Tanny and I, and we're going to knock out the Florida ballparks, Tampa Bay and Miami. Finally go to those two. I'm not looking forward to Tampa Bay. I wish they would move somewhere. I wish they would move more than Oakland would move because that just looks like a garage. It seems depressing and sad. My guy, Ryan Sudol, who does some of the operations down there and used to work for The Score, says, no, Herb, it's better than it is on TV. I'm like, it has to be. It looks terrible. And Miami just looks hot to me. And then they got rid of the beautiful statue in the middle. So I'm not looking forward to Miami at all either. But it is, like every ballpark should be, a retractable roof.
I think they got rid of the fish tank, too, behind home plate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So, like,
because it cracked.
Oh, it did?
At some point, I think. I think because I remember when it opened, the first game of the year, remember they used to do those, like, the season starts on Friday, but we're going to do a national televised game on Thursday. The first game of the year was at the opening game of Marlins Park. And
2012?
I don't remember. But they showed on the broadcast them testing out the fish tank behind home plate, and it was people just like they got like a pitcher who could throw 100, and he's just chucking balls at the fish tank, and they're like, it's good, we got it. And I'm pretty sure like within like a year or two, someone fouled a pitch back and cracked it, and so they're like, no more of that.
And it's inhumane. The fish are like, I'm just chilling, and then a 100-mile-per-hour ball comes to them, like, oh, what the hell, guys, go that way. Not this way.
Found it 11 years ago. Nat Geo had Marlins first baseman Gabby Sanchez.
Gaby, 1B.
Test the two B's, one Y. Wait, what?
I thought it was like spelled like Gaby Sanchez. Am I wrong?
Yeah, like Gabby. Like if you had the name Abby,
Yeah.
and added a G.
So I was wrong. There are 2 Bs.
Yeah, there's 2 Bs.
Okay.
He tested the durability of the fish tank with a fastball. So I wish we could play this right now. But yeah, no, that's hilarious. They literally just were like, all right, throw some fastballs at it. All right, but let's get into Herb's rankings. Obviously, we're going to be able to update this next year with more stadiums.
Yeah.
Excited to see this list grow. Let's start off to where you just went.
10, I have Rogers Place or
okay.
Center.
So top 10.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice place. With the dome closed, which it started at when we went to the game because they feared there was some rain, it's kind of gloomy. Still good, but gloomy. When they opened up the dome, it was still like 7 o'clock daytime. You could see the CN Tower right outside of the stadium. We were on the third base line. Beautiful. And I didn't even get to the parts where KPW and other people told me they have like a whole like party section out there in the outfield. They've renovated that outfield section, which I didn't go to, so it has another excuse for me to go back to Toronto. But that seemed great. The food offerings were good. They had a poutine hot dog, which was mid, and then they had all dressed chips, which I've always been wondering about, which are just chips with ketchup on it. Actually worked. It doesn't sound like it's that great, but it worked out well. Beer selection was good there too, so I put that as a mid ballpark, or the mid of my 20, so a 10, a little bit better than what Wrigley is and other ballparks, but it's got a little like personality there. I like the stadium and how the doors and the wall opens up, the roof opens up, and it opens up pretty swiftly too.
Well, and next time you got to go, you got to stay at the hotel that you can look down onto the field. That's the coolest feature.
Watch a game from your hotel room.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think the guys from the 108 did that. Pete Hand,
Nice.
MSS both had rooms looking directly to the stadium. They said the only downside to that is at 3 a.m, they're cleaning the ballpark, and you're hearing those people cleaning the ballpark. So that's the downside.
Hey, you know, if I don't know if they tested the durability of those windows with a Gabby Sanchez fastball. Maybe if I throw a baseball at it, maybe I'd be able to play a couple innings before they tackled me on Rogers Center Field, you know?
I don't know if you're getting the ball up there. That's big boy land, McGuire land.
No. I'm saying if I'm in the hotel room, throw a fastball out into Rogers, break the glass, and then I could break in the stadium, you know?
You're up high.
Yeah, you got to
Spider-Man,
like rappel down.
Are you bringing some Mission Impossible gear with you?
You've never seen the guys at, what's the prison over there? The prison on
Cook County.
Downtown.
Yeah, tie some bed sheets
Metropolitan
together
Prison.
Scale out. Anyways, what else do you want to jump in with these stadium rankings? Because obviously Rogers Center is 10. We've done this before. I mean, like, it seems like Oracle's kind of a monster here.
It's going to be my favorite one. It's going to be hard to beat. People say the only one that I haven't been to that could beat it is Fenway, but I already have adverse feelings towards Fenway because of the Red Sox and Boston in general, so it probably won't pass up Oracle. But you see guaranteed rate at 19. That's not necessarily because of the atmosphere. It's because of the how to get into the ballpark and how they treat you as a fan when you do get in the ballpark. It takes so long to get in first, then you got to go up those stairs, and then when you're trying to get in the 100 section, if you have a 100 ticket, they're checking you again. It's like, come on now. And then some in those sections, they're checking you a third time to see if your tickets are the right tickets. Like, they're going wild over this Legue thing from way back in the day where a guy from the upper deck got a little too loaded and him and his son attacked Tom Gamboa. It's way time for that stadium to renovate that system and be better, because every other stadium I've been to, you check your ticket once and you go to your seat and you have access to all the ballpark for the most part. Guaranteed rate is the only one that you don't have access to all the ballpark.
Vinny, I have to issue an apology.
To me.
Yeah.
Oh, you were right.
George Drag says Gabby Sanchez is 1B. Vinny is correct. And accent on the A in Sanchez. For immaculate gritters out there, he was a Florida Marlin, a Miami Marlin, and a Pittsburgh Pirate. Kind of forgot his Pirate stint, so that might be a sneaky immaculate grid.
He only
right there.
plays for teams whose mascots live in the sea.
If I could choose as an MLB player, I'd prefer that.
Would you follow that rule?
Yeah, I would only be able to play for the Buccaneers, the Marlins, or
the Buccaneers are a football team. But
Deion Sanders did both. I mean, Bo Jackson did both. I mean, if I'm skilled enough to be in the MLB, I just need to work hard enough to be in the NFL. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of people have done it.
You don't think Aaron Judge could play wide receiver? I sure do.
No, he can't.
So you
catch
can
a
only play.
pass or
You
two.
can only play for those great seaside towns in Miami, Tampa, Seattle, and Pittsburgh.
The Dolphins and I guess Rays would count too because they live in the sea.
Yeah, Tampa. I said
Yeah.
Tampa.
Anyone else live in the sea? Yankees? The
You
Yankees
didn't
like a
laugh at
clip-
my joke, seaside town of Pittsburgh?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, do
There's
you not
water
have
there.
sea access from the river?
Pirates.
Do you not have sea access from the river? Doesn't the river
I mean,
lead
maybe
to the sea?
eventually.
Yeah.
Hey, they're pirates. Arg.
You
You
gotta
know,
go
we
a
got to
little-
see.
You got to travel.
Arg, we just came from Sweden and we're going to end in Pittsburgh. Arg.
That's what pirates sound like.
Arg. Yeah, Swedish pirates. We got to go get Permanente Brothers. Arg.
Why Sweden?
Because I'm from Sweden, and I know that's near the
They don't
ocean.
have pirates in Sweden. They
They
have
have
Vikings.
boats. I mean, but pirates are men of the sea. I mean, it doesn't have to. I mean, why? They didn't originate from Sweden. Maybe they came from Spain. I don't know. Where do pirates originate from? The Caribbean?
They originate from all over, but they're not known for their Scandinavian heritage.
It's just. I mean, it's a port town. Anyway,
Pirates are bad people too.
Arg. I've seen Captain Phillips. I mean, it was a very entertaining movie, but I did not like the guys that were threatening Tom Hanks with a gun.
They were the captains now.
They were the captains now. That guy was great. All right, so let's jump into the main topic. Well, actually, I had one more final stadium question for you. I feel like Chase and Guaranteed Rate Field kind of have a mall vibe to them. I feel like that's what I think Tropicana is going to suffer from, is like basically a mall vibe. Sox are a little bit outdoor, but I don't know if that's fair. Like, do you get mall vibes from those last teams where it's like, it's not offensive, there's just nothing unique about them. They're just very much like, hey, here is where you get your stuff. Here is where you can give us money.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a business. I'm not trying to hate it, but you know, I mean, that's what the vibe I get from Guaranteed Rate Field.
The ones in the top list, Oracle, PNC, Petco, have originality, have personality. Like you said, Guaranteed Rate is just a slab of concrete. It's nothing really special. You know, the people inside are, but the actual stadium is just ugh. And Chase is the exact ballpark as American Family, which used to be Miller Park. But one's in the desert, and they keep the windows open when it's 95 degrees in Arizona and act like it ain't hot. It's hot as hell out there. Like, I know Milwaukee does that, but you want to get like 10 games that are really hot in Milwaukee. All the games in Arizona are hot, and they don't have air conditioning in that sumbitch. So I marked it off. I mean, you could say it has personality because it has a pool and a hot tub in right field, but no one goes there. That's exclusive. I don't have tickets to that or access to that pool. Who cares? It's just a big ass piece of concrete in the middle of Phoenix, which is hot as hell, and no one's in Phoenix either. That's the thing. In the summer, because it's like now 115 degrees in Phoenix.
Yeah. Well,
going to the ballpark is not ideal.
And you went when? 2019,
We
right?
went to last year in Memorial Day
They
weekend.
sucked. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like now, maybe with Corbin Carroll, maybe with a better team, maybe with a little bit more atmosphere, it's a better place. But that's like with Guaranteed Rate Field. Like, Guaranteed Rate Field's great when that place is packed.
They were playing the Cardinals, so that day was hyped with Cardinal fans.
Yeah.
And they're both the Cardinals are wearing their nice light blue jerseys with the red lettering, looking sweet, winning. And the D-backs, I think, were wearing their serpentine jerseys.
Chase Field is weird, too. I feel like you could fly like a literal jet in there. Like, it just seems so big and spacious. Like, that center field is just kind of ugly. I don't know. But thanks for sharing your stadium list here. I mean, I'm excited to see where Tropicana and Marlins Park, Lone Depot Park, let me be honest. Lone Depot Park, right?
It's a shame, Herb, it's a shame you couldn't go to Pro Player Stadium.
Or
Go
Joe
find-
Robbie. Or Lone Shark.
Yeah, Loan Shark. Not Loan Shark, Land Shark.
Land Shark.
Yeah.
I think that R.I.P.
The company's
beer?
dead?
I think the beer.
The Jimmy
dead.
Buffett beer, Land Shark.
I think so, or maybe not.
I think you're thinking Anchor. They died.
Oh, Anchor. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
That's a legit RIP.
There is a YouTube video if you guys want to go check it out. This guy, he visited every Rainforest Cafe in the U.S. and Canada. Now he did Margaritaville this year. So I saw a lot of Land Shark in that video. So if you do want to check that out, go check that out. Anyways, let's take a break. We're gonna Matthew said, talking about the White Sox. I approve of this because it's exhausting. We're talking about baseball. It's a baseball podcast. We're going to get in the MLB Trade Deadline now. We'll take a quick break, let you know about some of our great sponsors, and then jump into Lucas Giolito and Tim Anderson. If you guys are watching right now, please hit that thumbs up button. Alex actually asked a great question. I'm sorry. If this was a food ranking, guaranteed would be top 5?
Yeah, the variety of food and drink they have is probably putting them up at the top. Yeah, but again, Oracle is dumb good, but expensive. They have just so many things you could eat and or drink there. But guaranteed rate would probably be in my top 5, yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break and let you know about some of our fantastic sponsors here. And this is a new one, especially we're going to be they're going to be presenting tomorrow our Crosstown Classic coverage. But this is a place that I have a lot of childhood memories at. Hooters is your spot to catch all the games this season. Step up to your plate for our world's famous wings, delicious seafood, stacked sandwiches, salads, and more. I used to hang out with my dad and used to, as a child, take me to Hooters. And I used to lie to my mom. She said, "Where'd you go to lunch?" I said, "Scooters." How did she figure out that we went to Hooters?
Boy, how?
Really played that off well.
Yeah.
They have tons of great beer specials and drinks, $6 drinks all day, every day. And you can check out their seafood specials, $19.83 for a pound of crab legs, and great prices on buffalo and steamed shrimp. And Hooters is celebrating their 40 years in business all year long in honor of the anniversary. On the 4th of every month, Hooters will be hosting throwback events, bringing the 80s back with 83-cent wings. Love that they're using that number. I guess that's the year that they were. Okay, that's 2023
that would
minus
be 40 years
40
ago. Yeah.
83-cent wings and other great specials. Next one is on August 4th. So thank you to Hooters for jumping on the CHGO train, and happy 40th birthday to Hooters.
I've been to
Scooters.
almost every Hooters in the Chicagoland area because every Tuesday Mike North and us used to go out for Gail Sayers' Hooter remote.
Really?
Hooters remote, yeah.
Gail Sayers was going to Hooters?
Yeah, it was the Gail Sayers show.
That's awesome.
On Mike North's 670 The Score show, so I've been to all of them.
You just gave your 20 ballpark rankings. I now want you to give your 20 Chicagoland Hooter rankings.
Downers Grove, number 1.
Oh, damn. The only one I've been to is, what? No, I don't know the cross streets. It's on Cicero. It's like 95th-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest
I've been to
Highway?
that one. It's not Southwest Highway, but
Would it be crazy to say 93rd? 93rd
it's
and
right
Cicero.
in that vicinity. That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, all
there's
right.
a Chevy dealer there. I know the one.
A kitty corner across the Foxes, folks. But shout out to Hooters. Thank you for jumping on. And, hey, we are going to have our Crosstown event coming up. Hooters is sponsoring that tomorrow. And we do have the Crosstown Series takeovers. July 26th is sold out. So can't purchase tickets to that, but if you do want to get to the game, Game Time is the fastest way for you to buy tickets, and it shouldn't be stressful buying tickets to your favorite events. It's the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all these sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you could stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you have. I know Beyonce was in town this weekend. You could have gotten a great deal on Game Time to Beyonce. And
My
hey,
mom did for my sister.
look at you.
And got $20 off.
Boom, using code CHGO. And she would have got the Game Time difference. If your mom noticed that there was any tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So again, it's the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Go to Game Time. Get the best deal, and again, they're going to guarantee you the best deal with the Game Time guarantee. They'll credit you 110% of the difference for the same section and row for less. Snag the tickets without the stress. Download Game Time, create an account, and use code CHGO, just like Herb's mom did, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. This is basically an R.L. Stein book.
Goosebumps.
You're going to choose your own adventure.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about Lucas Giolito or Tim Anderson?
Lucas Giolito.
All right, Lucas Giolito. Steven, do you have the graphics ready?
Yes.
Our producer, Steven Nicholas, just sweating at the buzzer. Vinny's giving him notes on his graphics as he's making them.
Yeah, he's not going to like the Lucas Giolito one.
Uh-oh.
There's an apostrophe in pros and cons. It was already made.
That would be wrong then.
Apostrophe
It was made in
gate.
the other studio. I don't have that PSD. We have to do it. We're just gonna do it.
Yeah, flash
Let's
it.
Lucas
It's all-
Giolito.
Apologize for the incoming misspellings.
So Lucas Giolito this season, he's pitched 121 innings. He's got an ERA of 3.79, a WHIP of 1.22, and a K walk differential of 17.6%. So he is striking out batters 17.6% times more than he is walking. So that's good, right?
Yes.
He's got a K rate around whatever 17 plus 8 is, around 26%. He's got a K rate around
25%,
26%. Well, it's 6.6. So I'm kind of
You're rounding.
I'm making up for that. But he's got a walk rate around 8% and a FIP of 4.46. It's around average. His expected FIP is around major league average, so you'd expect him with a better defense than the White Sox. That ERA would probably still stick around 3.79, especially with the amount of players he's striking out. Before I throw it to you guys, some pros and cons of Lucas Giolito. We're basically selling Lucas Giolito to one of these teams. We don't know which team.
Yep.
We've banned trade proposals on this this program to protect you, the viewer. But some Lucas Giolito's pros and cons. I would say maturity. I think we've noticed that this year. I think Lucas has shown a lot of maturity, at least from my perspective and listening to him. I obviously, you guys can have your own opinion. I think he's shown a full arsenal this year, and then he's also had 4 seasons of over 160 innings. That's super important. I mean, he's going to be able to give you innings each and every time. As long as he's efficient, he could go 7 to 8 innings. I mean, there's been several games this year where we're like, oh, wow, 50 pitches through 5 innings. Like, there haven't been, he's also had games where he's gone 4 innings and walked 8. But, whatever. We're trying to sell. The cons, though, for Lucas, homer prone, 20 homers this year for Lucas. It is a contract year, so you won't have that extra year of eligibility. I did see there was a rumor from Mark Fine saying that the Reds would be willing to give up Jonathan India in a package, but that's for a pitcher that would have more control. Lucas obviously doesn't have that control.
Well,
and I think
that's up on the Reds' problem.
What's that?
They can make him have more control if they sign him.
Well, that's true. But
Reds.
they'd have to spend money.
Jerks.
And then, two, I thought the qualifying offer went when you traded someone, but I don't think that's the case.
It is. I was reading that today.
It is?
Yeah, so they wanted to revamp the qualifying offer. They actually just wanted to do away with it completely when they did the last CBA, but they never agreed on anything, and they moved forward on the CBA without it. So that still is in place. You can have the 2 conditions that allow a team to extend a qualifying offer to a pending free agent are you've never received a qualifying offer before, and you've been on the team the entire year. When you get traded mid-season, the ability for your new team to offer you a qualifying offer goes out the window.
Okay, so if he's traded to the Dodgers,
Gone.
cannot get the qualifying offer.
Correct.
Okay, all right, yeah, and I did have that
He's
wrong.
traded to any team.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the White Sox were to keep him,
Yes.
they could give him a qualifying offer because he has not gotten one in his career in the past, and he will have been on the White Sox the entire year.
All right, so, yeah, again, contract year then, Lucas, if he is traded, he's a free agent. And then the other one is velocity. I know this hasn't been a killer for Lucas Giolito, but it is something that has gone down. And I think, too, when you're going up against playoff caliber teams and you're going 3 times through an order, I think it does diminish your stuff. You just look at average velocity since 2019, 94.4, 94.2, 94.0, 92.7, and it has ticked up to 93.2 this year for average velocity. But again, it just doesn't seem like he does have that that zip that he did have when he was throwing the no-hitter against Pittsburgh when he was hitting 96 consistently. So when you look at the pros and cons, Herb, and you look at the stats, is Lucas Giolito the best available pitcher on the trade market?
If you exclude Marcus Stroman, which
So
the
your answer is no.
Yes, if you exclude Marcus Stroman, because I don't know if the Cubs are going for it or not. They should be going for it, but now because they won 3, they can fool themselves. But if you take him out, yes, Lucas is the best value and the best pitcher on the market for MLB. But like you were saying, there's a lot of flaws with Lucas, especially going to a different team. I think the major flaw, or not even a flaw, but a thing that I've noticed, he needs a personal catcher. He wants a personal catcher. Needs is a strong word. Wants a personal catcher. All the years with James McCann. And then now with Sebi Zavala being his catcher pretty much all the time, but Sebi Zavala is being the catcher for everybody, but specifically for Lucas. We saw when Yu Darvish went from the Cubs to the Padres, they had to have Victor Caratini with them, and then he had a great year. And then since then, he's been in the mid-4s since Carantini has gone some other team, and he's pitching to various catchers with the Padres. I don't know if Lucas necessarily needs Sebi on his team, but I think he feels comfortable with him. He understands that they have a symbiotic relationship and that Sebi knows the pitchers that he wants to throw. They've gone through the game plan. And I'm sure if Lucas goes to a team with an established catcher, he'll be fine and he'll work his way out. But that's what I've seen in his career. I don't know if the numbers are different with Yaz, but at the beginning of the year, I saw that they weren't as good as they were with Sebi Zavala catching him. So that would be a problem for me acquiring him, knowing what Yu Darvish has gone through in San Diego. It's not bad, but it's not the same as it was when he was with the Cubs.
Well, I mean, listen, I think this is a worthwhile conversation, probably more worthwhile for if we were a podcast covering any other team, right? But I think White Sox fans know how good Lucas Giolito has been this year, and I don't think any front office in baseball needs to be sold on Lucas Giolito. This is the trade deadline. This is when you go out and get pitching. And he is one of, if not the most desirable starting pitchers on the market this year, based because of what he's done this season, the results that he's posted, the numbers that we talked about, but also the track record of been doing this for a bit. He's had some success. 3 top 11 Cy Young finishes in his career, an all-star game, a no-hitter, that great playoff performance. I don't think anybody needs to go out there and be like, do we really want this guy? If you want starting pitching at this trade deadline, he's going to be a guy that's on your wish list. There's no doubt about it. The question is, what do the White Sox get back for him? And really, I think the market is going to end up determining this. I mean, you talked earlier, a trade could happen at any moment, and certainly that's true. We've seen trades happen in the days and full week or more leading up to the trade deadline. But with so many teams who are going to be in the race this year, so few sellers, it's kind of a bidding war, and it could come down to the last few minutes as teams, not just the White Sox, but teams that are selling, sit back and say, all right, what are you going to give me? What are you going to give me? What are you going to give me? And I think that's where those deals can come up to the last second buzzer beater deals and stuff like that. Lucas Giolito is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, so I don't think you should expect the kind of return package that some gigantic trades have netted for teams in the past. Teams including the White Sox, by the way, when they traded Chris Sale and traded Adam Eaton and traded Jose Quintana. Those were players that all had control left on them multiple years. So I don't think that people should expect this giant franchise-altering haul here. That being said, Lucas Giolito is going to command something because there are going to be a lot of teams, I think, bidding for his services.
I do think Lucas is going to start again in a White Sox uniform. I do think he's going to have a chance to have 1,000 career strikeouts with the Sox. I think it's probably going to be a deal that gets done 31st or 1st. Because I think, again, that year of control, it's going to make teams try to wait out to give up the least amount as possible. And I think we saw it with the Sox when they acquired Jake Peavy in 2009. I mean, that was a last-minute deal just because, again, I think the Padres wanted a certain price and they just weren't getting it. And then finally the Sox, crumbled and gave it to him.
Gave him Clayton Richard.
Yeah, right. Congrats. Clayton Richard, I will say, had him once on the score. We should have him on the show. Because he is
great guy,
a White Sox legend, and he can talk about baseball in a very I think he's a coach now, so he's really good at
former Michigan
baseball.
Quarterback too.
Yeah, he's
that's the day we get we get Merkin in here.
Ooh,
too.
Hell yeah,
just going wild.
Favorite trade so far of the season: Pierce Johnson or Fujinami?
Of the two that have happened,
yeah.
Well, no, the Braves got a guy too, didn't they?
Yeah, Pierce Johnson.
They got another one.
No, Pierce Johnson.
They got 2 guys today.
No. They traded 2 guys for Pierce Johnson.
I don't know.
We sure?
Yeah.
They got
traded
former Cub great Pierce Johnson.
Former Cub great Pierce Johnson for their 10th and 26th prospect. And that's for a reliever.
Wow.
I think that, Lucas, I think especially because the White Sox have so many relievers, I think it's very likely that Lucas would be attached with a reliever because we see the Braves going out and getting a reliever. We see the Orioles going out and getting a reliever. I think every team, especially when you're going into the playoffs, you want the best bullpen possible. And we see Gregory Santos as maybe a possibility. We see Kendall Graveman as a possibility. Joe Kelly as a possibility. I mean, there really isn't anyone outside of Liam Hendricks that is off limits. I mean, even if a team wanted Garrett Crochet, there was a trade with the A's and Miami Marlins of A.J. Puck and J.J. Bleday flipping spots, and it seems like that's done both players well. Maybe you just see Giolito packaged with someone else, and maybe that's how the Sox get, a better return later in the
maybe,
the
but
deadline.
also those guys are all intriguing in their own rights. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a thing where the White Sox would have to trade one of the or include one of those guys with Giolito to get rid of them or to, you know what I mean? Those guys are all, I think, going to be of interest to teams because we're talking about starting pitching with Giolito, but boy, do teams need relief pitching all the time. Every trade deadline, you're seeing the Braves make moves for a couple of guys today, that those other teams probably didn't even want on their teams really that much. They're not having very good years. But so if you've got a guy who is attractive like Graveman or Kelly or Lopez, who's about to be a free agent, you bring up Santos and Middleton, the guys that they kind of found out of, rolled the dice on, and they've been two of their better relief pitchers. If somebody calls about these relievers, like you said, other than Hendricks, obviously, who's currently injured and, a far more bigger investment from a financial standpoint, then yeah, I think they're going to listen, and I think you're going to see a number of those relievers go in trades as we get closer to the deadline.
I'm just looking at Anthony's comment. I like your comment, Anthony. I'm just stuck on the resigning part. It's re-signing. It's a dash in between.
Mercy.
I'm pedantic like that. Hey, language matters, Sean.
Here you go, Herb. I'm fixing it
You
for
knew
you.
what he meant.
I thought he was going to retire. Was he interested in
He's not
retiring?
gonna retire. I mean, I think
they
that
mean
seems
two different things.
pretty outside of the picture, right? I mean, if the White Sox extended Lucas Giolito right now, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I think I would roll over and die just because I would be
That
shocked.
is dramatic.
Well,
Very dramatic.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be accurate.
You should
I
stay
think,
alive.
I think I would. I think I'd freeze up like a body in a cartoon and be like, and then do that.
I don't know if it'd be
it'd
quite that surprising.
No, it'd be dramatic.
I think
I'd be shocked.
if they don't find a partner that's willing to give what the White Sox want, and the White Sox should be in the position to say what they want, and if they don't get it for Lucas Giolito, they have the qualifying offer, and they could just keep him because, as we've talked about,
They could try.
yeah.
He could decline a qualifying offer, yeah.
But also getting a compensatory pick later on for Lucas, just not, giving him away for something that the other team wants to give him away for. You have to find a trade partner, and there's going to be a bunch of them that are willing to go where you need to go. And, of course, some negotiations there. But set a hard line to say, this is what we'll accept for Lucas. Anything less than that, we're good. We'll just keep him and maybe try to re-sign him next year because they're going to need to re-sign somebody. Even if they trade him, I would say have out there that he's still going to be available to be re-signed because all the things you said on the left collar with the maturity, the innings he gives you, and all the stuff that he does during a game with in-game adjustments. When he does get hit hard early in the game, he makes those in-game adjustments that are good, that help the team win. He's a pitcher's pitcher.
Yeah, and I mean, he just turned 29, just had his 29th birthday on the 14th. I think, Steven, if you want to flash the pros graphic, I think he'd be a great investment for any team. I mean, if the White Sox did re-sign him, I'd be shocked in jubilation. I wouldn't be upset because, again, I think we have seen the maturity, and you've seen in the clubhouse, he's been very aware that it's possible that he gets traded, that it's been a narrative around him since April. Bob Nightingale said even if the White Sox are in contention with the division, they're trading Lucas Giolito no matter what, and he has been hearing that since April. We know his dad's very active on Twitter, and he probably sees that stuff and is like, hey, just want to keep you an eye out. I mean, you always bring up the idea of Lucas being a first rounder with Mike Rizzo and him needing that certain amount to sign. He has always understood, the professional side of this game. And the arsenal, too, I think is huge. Right now, you look at run value for his pitches. His four-seamer has a run value of 12. That's very good. That's the best that it's been since 2019 when it had a run value of 16. And I think what we've seen with that arsenal is the slider isn't a great pitch. We know the changeup is, but he's not afraid to use the slider, and it is putting him in a great situation to get whiffs. He's got a whiff percentage of 37.7 on the pitch, and his changeup's got a whiff percentage of 31.6. So even though the four-seamer isn't the dominant 96 that it was, it is still respectable to where you have to respect the secondary stuff because he's not afraid to throw it. And we know how dominant that changeup can be, even though it has a run value right now of 0, and the slider is technically on a negative pitch at -6. The importance of those three pitches, and then if Lucas is like, oh, well, they're on my fastball, I'll just be more slider and changeup heavy. He just has really seemingly learned how to adapt to pitching And if he faces a wall, he knows how to turn, corner out, and get his way out. Like, and with the innings, I mean, 4 seasons over 160, like, that's pretty rare nowadays. Like, I mean, going over 160, he's shown that ability outside of 2022 where, again, we could see the narrative. He overlifted, overtrained, wasn't really in line with his mechanics, had an oblique injury that really never recovered properly, had this offseason, recovered, and here he is with a sub-4 ERA. Like, I really think that he would be a great investment for any team because it seems like he was made to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
Like,
and here's the thing, too. Like, I think Ken Rosenthal used this phrase in his writing earlier today. People think that it's binary. You either have to trade everybody or you have to trade for everybody, right? And I think a lot of the times the answer is in the middle. And, just because the White Sox are very clearly sellers doesn't mean that, all right, everybody has to go, and if they don't trade everybody, then boy, they screwed up. You know what I mean? We've got comments saying they better trade him to get anything for him. Do not make a trade just to make a trade. That doesn't make any sense. I understand the idea of get something before he's gone and why people should think that. But Herb, you just walked through why you still can get something for him even if he leaves as a free agent if they don't trade him. I think he's likely to be traded just because of what the market is probably going to how it's going to play out. There's not a lot available out there, and so if you are a team that wants a starting pitcher, you're going to have to pay that price. You're going to have to pay that price for Stroman. You're going to have to pay that price for Giolito. You're going to have to pay that price for Verlander if he's available, not to mention all the money that Verlander makes. But, these guys are not a dime a dozen right now, and so to go ahead and get Lucas Giolito, if a contender wants it, they're going to have to give the White Sox something back. And if the White Sox are not seeing a willingness by contending teams to do that, then you're going to see a lot of contending teams not able to make those additions, and you're going to see the few selling teams maybe have to hold on to some guys.
And Chirizi brings up a good point in the chat here. Sox here really use the Tigers and Padres to decide not to sell to help create some scarcity in the starting pitcher market. Obviously, Blake Snell would be a part of that. Eduardo Rodriguez would be a part of that from the Tigers. If you wanted Michael Lorenzen, sure, he's an all-star. I just think if you're looking at the market, it depends on what you want, obviously. I know you prefer Stroman. I think I would prefer Giolito. I think the maybe argument for Stroman would be ground ball pitcher, right? He's not really going to give any chance for a ball to leave the yard.
And the top of rotation pitcher.
Yeah,
Still.
I mean, I think, would you say Lucas is not?
No. Mid-rotation pitcher.
I would. I mean,
but
why?
also, too, for these contenders, it's a volume game, right? I mean, like, get as many good pitchers as you can. Like, you brought up the Dodgers on our show yesterday and all the injury troubles that they're having. They're still putting together a rotation that is allowing them to be one of the best teams in the National League. So go ahead and just add to that. Eventually, it's going to shake out where you're going to have 4 or 5 guys that can make playoff starts. You just pick the best of those guys, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's out there saying, in order to win the World Series, you need to have a number 1 starter, then the next tier down at number 2, then the next tier down at number 3. Just throw as many arms out there as you can possibly throw out there, good ones, and the idea is that you're going to come away with some guys who you can feel confident sending to the Hill in October.
All right, Herb. I hear you, Vinny, but I was looking up Marcus Stroman. You look at since 2019 for Giolito and Stroman, ERA plus of 133 for Stroman, Giolito at 113. I mean, I know 2022 was real bad for Lucas, but I mean, Stroman has been pretty consistent. I know, like, again, I think the Dodgers could use depth again. Like, they have so many injuries, and I feel like they're loading up for Shohei in the offseason. So Giolito would be a good acquisition because he's not worth it, or he's not owed any money next year. Stroman too. I mean, he's going to be a free agent. I mean, Cody's saying that the Cubs need to sweep. You think Cubs need to sweep to not sell? Like
Sweep the
White Sox in the next 2 games.
I mean, need to is a little hard.
Well, I mean,
there's games after that too.
You've talked to passionate Cody before.
I think they play the Cardinals after that too. So
They do.
they're fine.
Yeah. They're 6.5 back in the NL Central and 5.5 back in the wild card race.
That is very much in it.
Yeah, exactly. And when you got all the players they got, just getting Cody Bellinger back this past month and seeing what he's been doing, and Stroh keeps on doing this, Hendricks, and you had a good performance finally out of Jameson Tyone the other day. Cubs are in it. They should push forward. They should push for it. I don't need any more sellers. I need all people going for it.
Going back to Teresa's comment, I think if the Cubs decide to keep, I think that's the biggest help for the Sox because I think the Padres with all the money that they spent and honestly their record with Musgrove and Snell over the past like 20 games is like they're like 19-1 when those two pitch. So it's really just got to figure out the other 3 days. But the Tigers, like again, the pro of Lucas is the innings. And you look at Eduardo Rodriguez, who I think is the best Tigers pitcher, 91 innings last year, only 83 innings this year, and the highest marks were 2019 and 2020, 203 innings at 157. But even other than that, like a lot of 120s, a lot of sub 140s. Like Lucas Giolito, again, has that ability to give you innings, and I think that's what teams are going to want. Like
good innings.
Can you pitch?
Good innings.
Yeah, can you pitch all the way until the end of the World Series? Can you be starting a game for us in the World Series? And give us 4 at least good to great innings, and we'll handle it from there with our 8 bullpen arms.
And I know we're not talking about him in particular, but to spur off of what you just said, that's why Lance Lynn is going to be a person that people are going to be checking in on because he gives you innings. Good innings or not, he gives you innings. So that's a value. And for these teams going down the stretch, and if they can figure out what was wrong with Lance, he's going to be valuable. I don't know what they're going to be giving up to get Lance, but people are going to be checking in the White Sox to see what Lance Lynn's availability is and what the White Sox are asking for, apparently a lot right now.
And again, I mean, there was a comment earlier that was talking about, I'm assuming that it's going to be an underwhelming trade deadline for the White Sox. The White Sox are 19 games below 500. I think any deadline in that situation is going to be underwhelming. If you are talking about the kind of return that they're going to get back, what do you want? I mean, like major league ready guys? I don't know how many trade packages you're going to see for Giolito and then, I mean, Giolito's the top, right? There are a lot of guys that the White Sox could trade, but I don't think any of them are as good as Giolito right now. Right. And so that's the guy that you're hoping to get the most for, and he's only got 2 months left to control on him. I don't know if there's a way that you can be overwhelmed or even whelmed as a White Sox fan at this trade deadline. They've played so poorly that they cannot do that for you. Rick Hahn cannot do that for you unless he goes back to the magic of 16 and 17 and pulls off those same kinds of trades. But I don't think he's got the pieces to do that at this point. So we'll see what happens. But these trades are going to be, Sean, about what you always ask about, minor league depth pieces, minor league, guys who might be something down the road. I don't know if you're getting top 5 prospects from teams for Giolito or TA or something like that.
I think Lucas is the only one that could be possible. And maybe it's not a top 100 prospect, but maybe it's a top 5 prospect from a worse system, right? Like there's been the talk of Heston Kjerstad from the Orioles for Giolito. If that happens,
baby.
All right. See
I'm
you
in.
later. Bye, Lucas. Nice having you.
I've already
Hope you
hit
got
the
to 1,000 strikeouts.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening. But I mean, again, if the White Sox are able to add a reliever to Giolito, I think that they could get something major league level from major league-ish ready from that. But that's really the only piece. And I think the big thing is, and we'll take a break right after this. If they eat the money for Lance this year or eat some of the money, they eat some of the money or all of the money for Yasmani. They eat Kendall's money for this year, so then basically people are just paying the next year's salary because he's owed 8 this year and 8 next year. If they're paying half of Kelly, right? Like if they are eating some of the money, because this is already money that they thought they would be spending this year, I think that could, again, increase your chances to get something that could help you in 2024. So, like, again, maybe it doesn't need to be a top 100 prospect, but if you're getting some fringe AAA guys, like that's basically the Cleveland Guardians roster. It's just like it's Tyler Freeman playing second base. Do you know who Tyler Freeman is? No. So, like,
but is that what you? But is that gonna whelm you at the trade deadline?
No.
Oh
no,
boy,
but,
they traded.
But it's a hell of a lot better than it's getting something. Like Yasmani Grandal is either going to walk out the door or you could get something. Like that's really what this is. It's underwhelming. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm not trying to sell you a brand new car. Here's a Rolls Royce. No, it's like here's some used sponges.
Used sponges.
Yes.
That sounds worse than the stereotypical bag of balls. I think you'd rather have a bag of baseballs than a used sponges.
I think I'm going to
Slightly
see them in November at the Salt Shed.
Oh, hell yeah. Mercy. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll let you know about some of our fabulous sponsors, and then we'll talk about Tim Anderson and some final other people that might go. This trade deadline for the Sox. Shady Rays take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with the warm weather ahead. It's going to be warm this week with polarized.
It's going to be so hot.
Oh, put on your shades.
I'm not going to be able to take them off. I'm going to have to wear them inside.
With premium polarized shades at an affordable price, Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that makes you look as handsome as these two gentlemen right here. And they offer a pair of sunglasses that's good as any expensive pair we've worn. They're a hell of a lot better than all the cheap sunglasses I used to buy. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, it's also that they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back along after your purchase. It's basically your new home for sunglasses. Why go anywhere else? You lose them, you break them, they're going to help you replace them. They're not going to break the bank. You look slick with them. We're going to give you a nice little promo code. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop because, again, their team always has your back because this is your home for sunglasses. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off. 2+ pairs of polarized shades. You can get the two that are on these lovely models right here. They're the same sunglasses, but in a different little finish. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Check out the website, shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO to get 50% off 2+ polarized shades. But again, go to the website and find your shades. It's fun to just look. Hey, live a fantasy. Oh, what if I had the Ventura shades? You know, what would I look like?
The Robin Ventura shades?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out to Herb. But thank you to Shady Rays. Use code CHGO at shadyrays.com. Herb.
Hello.
Do they have weed in Canada?
Do they have wheat in Canada?
Weed.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, mercy. Well, you're not in Canada anymore.
I'm not.
And your home for cannabis in Chicago is Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kind of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, and they're a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are in your cannabis journey. They have easy online ordering and in-store pickup. They have a transparent loyalty program as well called Sunnyside Rewards, and it's Illinois' favorite dispensary from city to suburbs, Wrigleyville to River North, Champaign to South Beloit. Herb, what'd you pick up recently? Are you an edible guy or a pre-roll guy?
100% edible guy. I pick up usually the Kivas or the Friays from Good News.
There you go. So shout out to our friends over at Good News. They got gummies, rechargeable vapes, PEMs, and carts. Perfect for great moments with the crew. Through August, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer. It's not stackable with other promotions, and that's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer with our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois MedCard holder. Again, that's code CHGO at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer. Thank you very much to our friends over at Sunnyside. All right, let's get into the Tim Anderson talk. And shout out to Justin. Loves himself some Sunnyside. He got the Butterscotch Willie. I don't know what that is. And Steven scrolled away from it. He got the Butterscotch Willie. Get that next time, Herb.
It sounds delicious.
Mercy.
I went to college with a Butterscotch Willie.
Did you?
Yeah.
You played banjo?
He'd ride through town on the boxcar every once in a while. Say, "Hi, Butterscotch Willie."
Playing his banjo.
Hi, chillins. I don't know why he talks like that.
Wearing his overalls. All right. Let's go to Tim Anderson's stats here. We'll talk about his pros and cons. Because obviously, a big con of TA is the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers aren't popping off this page for 2023. TA in 331 plate appearances has a batting average of 241. Former batting champ 2019 has fallen off that 333 average. 56 weighted runs created plus. Obviously, 0 pasta parties this year. But he has stolen 10 bags. Tim, since the All-Star break, has kind of heated up a little bit. He's got a lot more hits. Seems like he's finding some power. He had a gapper double in that horrible extra inning game yesterday that went to 12 rousing frames. But the pros and cons.
It wouldn't have gone 12 if it wasn't for that double.
Absolutely. The pros and cons of our friends over our friends for for Tim Anderson. Obviously, all-star caliber, was just the starting all-star in 2022 for the American League. Has playoff success, batting average near 385 in the playoffs.
That's good.
Pretty damn good. And it's got an extra year control, and it's basically your choice. It's choose your own adventure again. They have a team option next year, so Tim Anderson could be or could not be on your team. It's your choice, GM, whoever wants to acquire him. The cons, again, he's been kind of stinky. A weighted runs created plus of 56. It's tough to sell. He is one of the worst shortstops when it comes to offensive output this year. There is the injury concerns. A lot of the poor performance has come because of the injury that happened in Minnesota, but also we look at last year, we've seen a lot of groin injuries and issues pop up with TA. He hasn't had the cleanest bill of health. And then subpar defense. Shortstop hasn't been the funnest ride with TA over the past 2 years. He led the position at Nares last year. What do we make of Tim's selling ability? Can you sell Tim Anderson to a playoff team right now? And is there a certain angle that maybe you could find? Maybe he's not playing subpar shortstop defense for you. He's playing second base. I don't know.
Well, they can look at the early stats from this year before he got hurt in Minnesota, where the average was nice and good, and he was driving the ball, not hitting home runs or anything like that, but he was doing the job that Tim usually does. So we saw that in Houston in the opening series, and then when he got hurt in Minnesota, it's like everybody was crestfallen because we're like, that is our guy. And as we say about Tim's offense, as he goes, we go, you see exactly that correlation. When Tim wins the batting title, the offense goes. When Tim is one of the worst baseball players in baseball, the White Sox reflect that. And so what Rick Hahn could say is he's starting to ramp up, guys. You could see it. The numbers from the All-Star break are this. He's healthy. Doesn't have the growing anymore. Doesn't have the finger anymore. The shoulder's good. Everything's good about him. You got to give me the money or the players if you're acquiring this All-Star caliber player that you're getting. That's how he can sell it. Don't look at this year's numbers because you know you're not getting that player. The reason why you're calling me today is that because you want that player that we had for those years. You're not calling me because you want the 2023 Tim. So let's deal with reality. And that's what Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams can go on that plane instead of offering or just trying to get anything they get for Tim just because he's had such a poor year. I would say at the end of the day, while we're talking next Tuesday, he will be still a White Sox because of all the things that are combined with him. But I want Rick Hahn to test all the waters. I want him to check in everybody. If anybody's serious about acquiring Tim Anderson and they're offering market value for what he was last year, buy Tim. I'm sad because I love the man. I love what he's done for the White Sox, but lately he has not been the player that the White Sox desperately need him to be, and he might have to go.
I mean, this is a great example of you don't make a trade just to make a trade, because everything that you just said, Herb, about why other teams would want Tim Anderson for this year and next year, boy, don't you think the White Sox would want that for next year? A team that is very likely going to be trying to compete in 2024. Don't you think they would want an all-star caliber shortstop who might win a batting title at the top of their lineup? I understand that folks are looking very much in the right now, and they're not seeing that guy. But listen, every other head of a baseball ops department in baseball knows what Tim Anderson is capable of doing. Put him in a playoff race, and he's going to be the guy who has that ridiculously high playoff batting average, that guy who hit that home run in the Field of Dreams game, that guy who was tearing it up in the World Baseball Classic while playing second base. Get the lights bright. You don't think Tim Anderson's going to go back to being Tim Anderson, and you don't think the White Sox would want that? So if you're not going to get, if you're Rick Hahn and you're not going to get that kind of value for Tim Anderson, then why are you making the trade? Why are you making the trade to begin with? Because at that point, you're just like, oh, my God, we're sellers right now. We have to sell. That's not how Rick Hahn or any actual baseball GMs are thinking. If you're running a fantasy team, maybe that's how you think. But they're not going to just make this deal and get rid of Tim Anderson because to get something. They can have him next year as their everyday shortstop, and you better believe they think he's capable of being that guy again, unless they know something that's going on behind the scenes from a health or a production standpoint, a change that he's made that really has affected his game. And in that case, guess what? The other teams are going to know about that too. So this is very much a perfect example of you better get something good that provides a bright future for your franchise either next year or beyond, or both, because this is a guy who you could trade and watch go win a batting title and be an all-star in 2024, and you could be like, well, that sure would have helped us try to win the division or make a playoff run, but oops, we traded him just to trade him. I don't see the White Sox doing that, but I think there's a lot of folks out there who think that they should, and I'm addressing those people right now.
There you go, people.
Yes, there you are.
Yeah, I mean, since July, the power still hasn't been there for Tim, but batting average of 292. Then we just go post All-Star break, slugging percentage of 432.
That works.
I mean, how interested are you in July Tim Anderson? Does this feel real? Does this feel like Tim Anderson is picking up steam? Because if I am a GM, he has the ability to move from shortstop to second base. If he is the batting champ that he was in 2019 and the all-star caliber shortstop, I think it is absolutely a steal to go get Tim Anderson, right? Like, I understand your point. Like, why wouldn't the White Sox want him? I could see him being the shortstop in 2024. I just don't know if, again, there's enough compelling them to keep him.
If they get rid of Tim Anderson, they're making some pretty dramatic conclusions about next year, in my opinion.
He's not an untouchable. Like, I don't know. Like,
nobody's an untouchable.
You don't
team could back up their entire number one ranked farm system up to your house tomorrow, and you'd say, okay, right? Nobody's
for Luis Robert?
I don't think you would.
100 guys? If they said we're going to give you 100 players for Luis Robert.
If the Baltimore Orioles came and gave you some of their best
Forget
prospects.
about some. I'm just talking about
the team.
There's a 0.0001% chance.
This
right?
feels like the dumb question on Twitter. It's like, would you ever listen to Beyonce again if someone gave you $10 million?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
And so
$10 million.
I don't think you can ever call anybody untouchable. I mean, heck, you've seen teams. You see a team every year trade a guy who you think should be untouchable. The Nationals traded Juan Soto. You know what I mean? Like
Nolan Arenado.
Arenado got traded the year after signing that contract to be the anchor of that franchise. There's no such thing as an untouchable in Major League Baseball. But there's the varying degrees of that, obviously. So to say, oh, well, Tim's not untouchable, yeah, because if someone calls up and gives you a great offer that dramatically improves your future, you should take it. But you have to weigh that value against what Tim Anderson might be able to give you next year for a team for a year that you're planning on contending in. If they're not going to plan on contending, that's dramatic in my opinion, and that would be a big change of course probably.
My big concern is just like the one of the cons is injuries, and I think that this is Tim. Like I don't think Tim is this bad, right? Like, I think he was getting pretty unlucky. I think he was injured, right? I don't think he found his groove, and I think he's finding that a little bit now. He seems like he's making more contact. It seems like now he's getting more confident in that contact. Seems like he's driving the ball a bit more. I would just be concerned if the White Sox were banking on him for 2024 because of all these injury concerns, and he could have a great April again, and then, here we are in May, and he's hurt again. Like, I think if you can get teams interested enough, I think right now is the right time to make this deal because, again, like there is a lot of question marks for 2024 if you trade Tim Anderson, who the hell is going to play shortstop. But again, like you have Luis Robert Jr. Like that feels like the piece that really only matters to Pedro Grifol and Rick Hahn right now. Like for 2024, as long as Luis Robert Jr. is there, like we have our idea of the future or this changed future now as we're 19 games under 500.
Then they're thinking their teams could be the Anaheim Angels, because they have a superstar, 2 superstars on their team. You need more. So they need to think about the long-term future of this team and not just keep Luis Robert just because he's Luis Robert as a superstar, but entertain any offers, and I'm sure they are. And if Tim gets an offer, they get an offer for Tim, fine, so be it, go. But as we're just talking about, if the Baltimore Orioles came to the table with the top 5 prospects, you'd be like, nah, I'm good.
Not for Tim Anderson. I mean,
I'm saying for Luis Robert.
Oh, yeah. I'd say I'm good.
You will. Okay.
I mean, I really don't think they're going to do that. You're going to give me Grayson Rodriguez,
yes.
Jackson Holiday. Yes. Yeah, sure.
No, they're not going to, but we're just saying that, like, that's the conversation when you use that word untouchable. People think you're being pretty like, no, there's no trade on earth. What if
why wouldn't they?
And but there is a trade on earth.
You say he's one of the best players in baseball with years to go, and these are all prospects that might hit. Luis is hitting.
Yeah,
I think teams would do that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, what? I mean, what'd they give up for Soto?
A lot.
A lot.
I mean,
Mackenzie Gore,
Abrams.
yeah.
Those were both top 5 guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And some more.
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, I do think that they could be in the same position next year in 2024, and Tim Anderson might be an attractive piece at the trade deadline, but it's just like, I feel like you could sell that player now. Like, look what he's doing in July. Look what he's doing healthy, and you got the year of control. You know,
probably can. I don't think right now it's about, oh, will you please take Tim Anderson off our hands? You know, I think it's about what will you, if you want him, what are you going to give me for him?
If they got either a shortstop or second base prospect that is like maybe low A or double A, and they got a pitcher that's near ready, doesn't have to be good, like just a guy that could actually start games, because the White Sox don't have anybody in their system that can do that. Like, if they got like a 26, 7, 8-year-old starter who could actually throw 140 innings and, kind of like a blue chip or, at least younger middle infield prospect, I don't see why you wouldn't say yes to that deal.
I mean,
so Sean's trading Tim Anderson for Davis Martin and a 19-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. But I would say yesterday's game, specifically
I have a lot of Davis Martins. He's hurt.
Specifically in that bat where he's facing a 100-mile-per-hour fastball, and he turns that around to right center field, which is Tim Anderson's stroke. That gave me hope that the man is back. He's driving the ball hard, and a home run will eventually come so we can finally have our pasta party, and I don't want that to be on somebody else's team, seeing the good Tim Anderson for the rest of this year, then next year on somebody else's team. I think, as Vinny said, the White Sox can get that here, and I think that's just clearing up the head, clearing up the injuries, and he's back to the guy that he is normally. Because I don't care who you are, the most haterist Tim Anderson fan, you didn't think he was going to be this. Nobody thought he was going to be this, so there's a regression to the mean coming up for him. And
Chirizi's asking who we roll out at shortstop if in 2024 if Tim is traded. I mean, it doesn't seem like either of you guys are really advocating for it or think it will happen.
He had some candidates. He rolled out the thing on his 108 blog. So shortstop free agents. No, sir.
No.
Not at all. It is terrible. And our options coming up from the minors, like Lenny Sosa or Rodriguez, no, sir. That's a rebuild. That's a rebuild.
Well,
you don't have a...
I mean, unfortunately, heard they let Rick Hahn stay around for fucking 10 years. And,
that's
they couldn't figure it out.
That's one.
I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to rebuild it. I think that it's going to be an advanced rebuild. I don't think Rick Hahn's going to use the word rebuild or retool. I think he's just going to say we're changing course. We're trying to salvage what's left or whatever. I think that Luis Robert Jr. is going to be the guy, and I don't really think
he already is the guy.
Yeah, I really don't think it matters though. Who's playing shortstop? Because as long as they got Eloy, Benintendi, Vaughn, and Robert, they have 4 hitters that they think are above average, and
so you don't. You do not expect the White Sox to contend for anything in 2024.
No, they're a poorly run organization.
Correct.
But they also they can also try, I guess is my point. Right. Do you expect them to try or do you expect them not to try? Because a rebuild indicates to me that you're doing what they just did and saying, guess what? We're going to be bad next year. We're not going to try to do this next year. To me, if you're going to try to compete next year, I don't know if you can throw Lenny Sosa at shortstop.
No. And give him 140 games at shortstop.
I mean, again,
all the strikeouts.
It depends on what you really do this trade deadline and what you're able to acquire. I wouldn't want to see Colson. I think they'd be rushing him, obviously, in 2024, putting him at shortstop. I mean, I wouldn't be against Jose Rodriguez or Lenny Sosa. I mean, they haven't gotten a shot. I think it could be similar to the Cubs in 2022. They kind of had a down year, and they kind of just more shifted. And then they had an active offseason the year after. I think it could be a pretty active 2025 for the Sox. I don't know. I think it just
be
might
sure
be
to tune in next season to the CHGO White Sox podcast, folks.
I don't run the team. I would have a better team on the field, I'd hope, if I was running this.
But you're comparing them to the Cubs, and they at least had one solid up-the-middle defender in Nico Horner there in 2022. Yeah. If you trade TA, and I know people are like, he's not a solid defender either. Whatever. You're gonna have Rodriguez and/or Sosa up the middle. It's gonna be tough.
Elvin Andrews.
Elvin's coming back.
Elvin Hunters. We're gonna have Elvin play there. Let's take a quick break. Just to let you know about FOCO. They donated the Southpaw one that's back there and the TA one. They might be at Studio B, but go check them out at foco.com, FOCO, or click the link in the description below. Use promo code CHGO for 10% all non-presale items. You got shirts, bobbleheads, Aloha shirts, bags, everything you need for a game over at FOCO. You can get lost in their bobblehead collection. So make sure, if you are a collector, to check out FOCO.com. They've been a long supporter of CHGO, and we're really appreciative of them. So check out FOCO.com, show them some love, click the link in the description. And again, they're giving you 10% off all non-presale items with the code CHGO. So thank you to FOCO for supporting CHGO. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're not trying in 2024, but
I'm just
again,
saying,
like,
listen,
I don't know how good the AL Central is. Like, I don't know how much you have to try.
Here's my point: is that, you know, and because there's a lot of, you know, sarcastic responses, right? They've been trying this year and they're so bad. I'm not talking about the actual result, more so as the intent, because we just went through, starting in 2017, right? We just went through watching them for multiple years willingly take a step back with the major league product to develop minor league players. Then all those players came up, and now all of a sudden the major league product it's trying. They went out and signed, whether you approve of what they did or not, they went out and they tried to win a division and win a World Series. No, it has not worked to this point. But my point being, if they go into 2024 with that former attitude, with that rebuild style attitude, that to me is very surprising, because look at all these guys that you said were going to be the core of a championship contender that are still going to be here. And so my thought is, why wouldn't they try? Why wouldn't they say we're going to contend? Whether it happens or not, I'm just talking about analyzing the decision-making. It would seem to me that they cannot afford to say, oh, yeah, we're going to do this whole thing again where you're going to be everybody's going to be buying Nicky Delmonico jerseys.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
I don't think it's going to be that bad, though, and that's why I think it's just going to be exactly what Rick tried to avoid, being mired in mediocrity. Like, that's what they are. They're not mediocre. Awful. They're not.
Oh, they're 19 games under 500.
Well, I don't know.
I wish
mean,
they're
like,
mediocre.
Again, like, they're not bad enough to rebuild. They're not good enough to compete. Like, it's just like I think that it's basically Rick's going to go out there and say it's the Luis Robert Jr. show. We're going to go out and watch him play 162 games and come out and buy tickets. Like, I mean, you're right that they stripped all this down and tried to do it right. And Kenny said when they signed Yasmani Grandal, we're going to have 5 to 7 years of a contention window. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, shit, we're in year 4 and it's already closing, and it seems like there's no one showing up to the stadium because they're all pissed off at you. So, like, I don't know what they have to sell. It's just kind of like, we're going to hope for the best.
If they do the Luis Roberts show, they would be a disservice to him and them if they don't surround him with talent that is in the same realm as him. Not at the caliber because he's one of one, but help him be the best player that he can be. Otherwise, just get rid of him. Like, just having a good player and then a bunch of also-rans will be a disservice to him, the White Sox fans, and the organization. So I would want them to, if they're going to sell off, and find partners for every player. Not on this trade deadline because it's going to be hard. It's 8 days. But in the offseason, find somebody else that can take this guy to the next level instead of just being a bad team. They're not. I wish they were mediocre. That would be great. I'm wishing for 81-81. That's how bad this year's been.
Well, and
they would be battling. We would be a different conversation if they're 500 right now. Oh, total different.
I mean, they could probably win the division. I'm sorry. They could probably win the division.
We would push all in. We wouldn't be talking about trading anybody. We'd be like, who are we getting? We getting Blake Snell? We trading for Eduardo Rodriguez? Nope.
You want lefties.
That'll be great.
Anything else you want to add on, or?
Not really. I'm interested. Let's put it this way. The thing that I'm most interested in seeing over the next week is not, oh boy, who's going and who do they get? I think we've pretty well established the list of guys that could go, and I think because of the circumstances surrounding all of those guys and the team in general, I'm not sure anybody is expecting a blow you away style return package that's going to dramatically change things up. What I'm interested to see is basically what I was just talking about. What is the direction? What does Rick Hahn come out and say next Tuesday? We made these moves to set us up for ... What is that direction? Because that to me right now is truly a question mark. there are multiple answers to that question, and I'm interested to hear what that answer is.
Well, Maddie's kind of asked a super chat along those lines. What reason do you have to believe that Rick Hahn can build a winner next season? Obviously, they're trying right now, and we see the results for 19 games under 500. I think the clear reasons are you have the best player in the division in the worst division in Major League Baseball. The rotation looks pretty weak, but again, what is the haul? We don't know what the 2024 Sox look like because the 2023 Sox aren't really dead and settled, you know?
Well, I think the thing is, when I talk about the circumstances surrounding the team, guys, we've been having this conversation going back to this time last year, talking about this past offseason. There's guys that are just there. They're not going to get rid of them, right? Yeah. Yohan Moncada's their third baseman.
Forever.
Eloy Jimenez is their DH. Andrew Benintendi's their left fielder. Andrew Vaughn's their first baseman. Luis Robert Jr. is their center fielder. They keep Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson's their shortstop.
Seems like Colas is their right fielder.
Colas is the right fielder. I just listed almost the whole team.
Right. Well, and then, catcher is kind of weak, so Sebi and Carlos Perez. I do think that, they just have to focus on the rotation. The bullpen isn't a major,
it might be if they trade 4 guys this week.
Yeah, my
point is that if the direction is, hey, we believe in these guys, we paid them, we believe in them, there's not much to tinker with. And so it's not, do I believe whether or not he can build a winner or not? He hasn't built one yet. But the answer is they might be stuck into playing the majority of the guys this year. And guess what? Those contracts aren't up. It's not like, maybe they do something.
Yeah,
but that is the last thing that all you fans want to hear right now, because you just have sat through multiple years of them not doing something. But if you're stuck in a situation where you got to run these guys out there because of the contracts you already signed them to, then you've got to do something to add to those guys to increase your chances of winning, because guess what? You've already committed to winning with those guys. You thought those were the guys that are going to win for you. You're not going to just say, all right, here's $50 million, Yohan, bye. No, he's your third baseman next year unless he physically can't play, which has been the case for the majority of this season.
Yep.
But so you got to go do something to it, whether it's in the starting rotation, whether it's in one of the 2 or 3 positions that you can tinker with. You got to do something to increase your chances of winning because everybody keeps saying, oh, this window's closed. For them, though, this window with this core, it's not closed. They have to finish it, right?
Yeah. Well, and so that's the thing too. Is it's not finished. We're just not
finished.
Sure.
These guys are still under contract. It's not finished.
That's the thing is I want to create a graphic or something. And it's I put Lucas Giolito and Lance Lynn at the center, and maybe we make that color red, and then a bigger wedge or whatever, and then we put Kendall Graveman and Joe Kelly and Keenan Middleton. I wouldn't be surprised if those 2 wedges were traded. And then we go to Tim Anderson. I'd be more surprised than, Tim Anderson, right? It's more just levels of this to where do they actually what point do they actually just go into? It's going to be fascinating to figure out, because again, I think there is a decent argument to keep Tim Anderson around, even though, he might be valuable this trade deadline. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. I want to thank Vinnie Duber for obviously joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at ActonWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. We'll be with you tomorrow. We got a pregame at 6:30. Herb and I will be taking care of that with you. And then Vinnie will join us on the postgame for Cubs and Sox for our Crosstown Series special. And thank you to Hooters for presenting that. We'll be talking more about Hooters. I'll go get some wings. Be a good old time. Thank you, Stephen Nicholas, for producing the show, and you can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this trade deadline, a week out special, and we'll have all your coverage when the White Sox make a move. See you later. Bye.